It's your boy, Fitzroy. I'm here with the man, Mr. Tran. And this is kind of the introductory episode to our podcast, Nerd Finance. We just wanted to kind of go over how we met, what we wanted to do, what the podcast is going to be about, things of that nature. Mr. Tran, how are you doing today, sir?
I am doing swell. And what about yourself?
Doing good. Doing good. So, we've actually known each other for quite a while now. We met, I know it was in high school. Was it in ROTC?
I think it was in ROTC that we eventually kind of like met each other and started hanging out. And yeah, I think that's ROTC has to be it, or at least that's my oldest memory. I don't think you were in any of my classes, other classes that were academia based, but because you were older than me.
Right, right. Well, I believe we did actually have one class together, but we'll get to
Was
that.
it Spanish?
It was Spanish, yes.
I hated that lady.
Oh man, I cheated off of you, and
No
then
way,
you were
because
in
I
Spanish.
basically was not good at Spanish at all.
You were better than me.
Anyways,
You're not good was better than mine. But so we've been friends for a really long time. We've kind of been in contact with each other, then out of contact. And then most recently we both found out that we really have a passion for like finances and getting to like the retirement goals as well as having a bunch of stuff in common as far as like geek culture goes. So we thought that that would be a really good fit to do a podcast with the two of us.
yeah, and we get along and we synergize well and stuff like that. So I was like, hey, also note that Fitzroy here lives in California and I live in Florida, so we're literally a country away. But we
Yes,
make it
yes.
work. Um, so yeah, we just decided to do a podcast and about nerd stuff, about finance stuff, just about and whatever basically comes to mind, and nerd stuff encompassing basically, video games, comic books, movies.
Mhm.
What else is nerdy? Cosplay,
Cosplay.
conventions, and I don't know, anything else that geeky you can think of, right?
Right. It was actually your idea to get together, which I'm glad you mentioned that. I've been wanting to do a podcast for a while and just kind of procrastinated. Just kind of procrastinated, and then you kind of shot the idea out to me, and I loved it. So I'm really glad that you did that.
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
yeah. So I just want to kind of touch on, I guess, really quick. Maybe we can uh, talk about how we met, or I guess.
Yeah, sure. Let's go a little story about how we met, and then maybe fast forward a little bit to maybe some of the goals of what we plan to accomplish or not accomplish. You know what I mean, depending on how far this project takes us.
Yeah, definitely.
So, you want to start with that?
Yeah. So I mean, I guess I can't remember anything other than ROTC. I mean, we were so just to kind of give, I guess, a spectrum on how long we've known each other. I think I graduated. What was it? Oh, 03?
And I graduated '04.
Right. And I think I knew you when I was a junior because I think we had two. You know, I think it was in
Sounds about right.
2002 we really became friends, and now it's like 2019. So, geez, yeah, it's
It's been
well over
quite a while.
15 years. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been quite a while. So, I think you are the only friend that I made in high school that I actually still talk to, like regularly.
Really?
You know what I mean?
Oh, okay.
Or semi-regularly. You know what I mean? I mean, we talk more often now because we're working on this project.
Right.
Or I do. I answer your, "What would you do?"
Yeah. What
But
would
uh,
you
but
do?
those actually started when you were doing those. So here, just a preference. Fitzroy would do these questions like, would you rather, eat a pizza or eat a donut? it would be more complex than that, but um, and then why? So I was just answering them, and had not like we went to high school together, and we kind of went our separate paths, and we kind of met up again through mutual friends.
Hmm.
And then Fitzroy, you moved away
Yes.
to LA, so then we kind of didn't really talk a lot, but
Right.
we followed each other on social media, and Fitzroy would do these things called "Would You Rather," you know what I mean? And I would just answer them, just because they were fun and whatever. But it would get me talking to Fitzroy a lot, and then I think I did visit twice, right?
Was it twice?
Yeah,
I can only
yeah.
recall the one
One
time.
time was very, very brief. I went to Anime Expo.
Oh, you're
Yeah,
right. It was twice.
yes. And it was very, very brief. It was like I don't even know why you drove out here brief,
I was
because
like, what are you
I
talking
went to
about? You're in town. When am I
yeah,
gonna see you again? Yeah.
yeah. So this is the kind of guy Fitzroy is, right? I went to Anime Expo, which is in downtown LA,
Hmm.
right? Just to go hang out, and I do geeky stuff and stuff like that. So um, Fitzroy calls me. He's like, "Yeah, let's hang out. I got to see you at least here." So at the end of the day, when Anime Expo is closing up, and this is probably around 6 or 7 o'clock, right? He drives to you know downtown LA and meets up with me and says hi, and we chat for probably about 20 to 30 minutes, maybe.
Uh-huh.
Um, and and basically he doesn't even go inside because it's obviously closing, and he just turns around.
Yeah. Like,
And I think it's about an hour drive away to
yes,
hang
that's
out for
that's
20 minutes.
classic. But
That's
hey,
a
I mean,
that's a
it's like,
stand-up guy right there, man.
when am I gonna see you again? So it was totally worth it.
Yeah. So, but the next time I saw you a lot more. I came back to
Yes.
LA for, I think it was roughly a year, and the following year,
A
right?
year later. Yep. Uh-huh.
Yeah, and I went for BlizzCon that I
Yep.
randomly got tickets for, and that is in Anaheim, and Fitzroy lives in Anaheim, so that worked out very well. So, um, so he gave me housing, and I just hung out with him 95% of the time, aside from the convention.
Right,
So,
right, right, right.
and that's where I kind of I pitched the idea to him, and Fitzroy's like, "That's a great idea," and I'm like,
Yeah.
"I need you to basically carry this."
That- Not the case at all. But speaking about this idea, so as far as the goals go for the podcast, I mean, what are some of the, I guess, if you would like to present to
Okay.
the audience what exactly we want to do with this project?
Okay, so essentially, like I'm a teacher, so that's my generally career. So I just want to educate people, and I have like a real passion. So is Fitzroy for basically finance. So I thought it would be a cool idea just to talk about finance, and we're both total nerds. So basically, to combine some nerd culture into it. And I don't think that we'll ever get big, and maybe we'll have a small following or something like that, but we just want to talk about nerd stuff, talk about finance stuff, maybe bring some people within the nerd community along, basically, and talk to them, and maybe
Mhm.
learn a couple things from them, or maybe teach them a couple things too that they might
Right.
not know. You know, so and of course, like this is just like I said, hang out with my buddy Fitzroy virtually too. That's cool. So
Absolutely. Yeah, I feel that a lot of like nowadays there's a lot of different opportunities when it comes to pursuing your passion and somehow making earning income from doing your passion.
mhm,
And I think it's really easy to fall into trappings as far as like getting into like messing up your finances, getting to debt, um, you know, just not being in a good place financially.
mhm,
And I think talking to people who, number one, have done it right, or like you said, we can maybe help with giving some advice because both of us are really into finances and making sure that it's done the right way.
right.
And I think we
Uh,
can provide value, and we can absolutely learn value from people who are pursuing some of these geeky stuff and doing it right.
Right. And it's also important to note that we are not financial advisors too. We're just two guys that are like kind of hobbyists, nerdists, and
Right.
hobby finance guys too, or whatever. So you should also take our advice with a grain of salt. Every path is also different, and it's called personal finance for a reason. It's personal to your individual situation too, right? But
Right.
there is some, overall good advice that everybody should do, like creating a budget,
Hmm.
too.
Exactly.
So
And I think with not just with finance, but with everything, it's important to do your research and look into other sources. You definitely want to not get all your info from one place, but uh,
yeah,
yeah,
like anything else, like you should double check, triple check your sources. That's just a good life skill to have as a whole,
right,
just so you're not getting, you want multiple sources basically saying, hey, you should basically do this. You know what I mean? Don't just follow our advice or just some other random person too, you know?
right.
So like I like man, what's his name? Uh Dave Ramsey a lot,
Dave Ramsey. Yep, yep.
but I do
Yes.
not like everything he has to say. You know what I mean? And even Susie Orman, she has some good chunks of information too, but not
Yes.
all of it basically just pertains to me, and I would disagree on a lot of that too. And we'll dive into, some of that too. You know,
Hmm. Definitely.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So, and as far as nerd stuff goes, we're just, I guess, two nerds that just want to talk about nerd stuff with other people too, and just see people geek out. It makes me really happy when people nerd out about things. So,
Yeah,
um,
definitely. I mean, and we're both kind of in. I think like we have a wide range of kind of the when it comes to like geek culture. Like we're what's the word I'm looking for? I guess we're both really involved in a specific area,
mhm.
so it's not a lot. Like it's not intensely focused, but we kind of have a an understanding of about pretty much the entire landscape.
Yeah,
Like
we have a
we're
good understanding, a wide range. I
a
would say
wide range.
yeah.
So
Eh,
what I mean by that is where I have gaps, that's basically the things that you enjoy, and
mhm,
vice versa.
right. And then and we'll also talk to some people that have stronger focuses on certain um niches too
Right.
of nerd culture too. So I guess we just wanted to educate a little bit, to entertain a little bit, to geek out a little bit, and to, I guess, just have fun and see where it goes. And if it goes nowhere, then great. If it goes somewhere, then also great. No.
More great.
More great. Yes, more great. So,
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, how? Just really quick, I guess. Why? I don't even know how to phrase this question. But what was like? What was it that made you want to really delve into personal finance? It's like such a, I don't want to say a taboo topic, but it's something that a lot of people just kind of stay away from and not try to learn more about.
uh, I think it's just me, my personality. My personal finance was awful, and I think even if you're listening to this or listening to any type of like personal finance podcast, which I subscribe to a lot of them, I think you'd have to. It's like AA. Right? You kind of have to figure out you have a problem before you can help yourself with the problem, and that's
Right.
what I did. I had a problem, and then I was like, how can I, you know, uh, better myself or get out of this problem? You know,
Mm,
I mean, that's the focus of a lot of was it Dave Ramsey's stuff? People just come
mhm.
up to him and they're like, I have this problem. And he's like, this is what you need to do, you know?
Right.
So, and that's what I did. I was like, I had a problem, so I need to do this. And then, I just went down the rabbit hole like I do with most things. I start obsessing, so that's what I did. I started obsessing, and I absorbed in information at rapid rates. So, and what about yourself? So, what got you into the personal finance space?
For me, it was a little bit of the opposite. I think I was always a natural like saver. I never really spent a lot, and I just wanted to, I guess, maximize like those skills, like budgeting and things of that nature. That's just a lot of that stuff just comes second nature to me. So I really enjoy it for that reason.
Right.
So I'm the weirdo, I guess. Like I I
So you
was the
just like
guy.
maximizing it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. 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 So that's good though. So we have two different stories or whatever. I don't even actually know your story. And on the next two podcasts, we are actually just going to interview. You're going to interview me, and then I'm going to interview you, and then we could dive a little bit deeper into those topics. Those are our
Yes.
first episodes that uh, we should be releasing very soon, since we
Yeah,
pre-record all
definitely.
this stuff, right?
Exactly. Yes. So we'll kind of get more in depth on, I guess, both of our stories.
Mhm.
Um, as far as like nerd stuff goes, um, briefly, what kind of things I guess interest you the most? For me, I'm really into like the competitive video games, like fighting games and card games. I was really into card games.
Mhm.
What are some of the stuff that you are, I guess, like your expertise?
My expertise is more of video games, but non-fighting, and a lot of actually story-driven games. I do play a competitive video game now, but
Mm.
that's not where my love of video games started. And what else? And honestly, just anime, a lot of anime. And then uh, as of more recent, as I got older, more the comic book nerdy, Marvel DC universe. Yeah, which has taken the world by storm, by the
It
way.
really has.
Yeah, it's very, very mainstream now. I was like a geek, kind of like the hipster geek. Like I was in, high school and middle school, and I knew who the X-Men were when,
Yeah.
they had that old X-Men show that was great. Do you remember that show?
Oh my gosh, the 90s X-Men. Yes. Oh
And that
man.
was very accurate to the comics too.
It was pretty close, yes.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it had its flaws and stuff, but I mean, as far as like that show was very progressive as a whole, because
Oh yeah.
yeah, because it had the whole all the crazy arcs that happened to the X-Men, you know,
Right. Hmm.
and that show was what, the 80s? That show had to be the 80s, maybe 90s. It was
No, no, no,
90s.
no. It was early 90s, I want to say.
Yeah,
I yeah, I distinctly remember it was around the time Power Rangers
yeah.
was
It was Saturday
popular.
morning cartoons. It was on Saturday morning.
Yep.
Yeah, and
So,
that was a great show.
oh my
That
gosh.
that's kind of like what got me into Marvel and X-Men. That show and the Spider-Man uh, cartoon. The Spider-Man
Also,
cartoon was good too.
oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and that one actually
It,
also it followed the comic book storyline.
it had a lot of comic book storylines,
Yeah,
and you know what did not have a lot of comic book storylines, but was also equally fantastic was Batman the animated series. I don't know if you ever saw that.
oh, that created its own world. That's why, and that was hugely
Yes,
successful. Um, and that's where Harley Quinn came from.
that's where Harley Quinn came from.
Yeah,
That
uh,
that's where Mr. Freeze's origin that everyone uses now came from.
yeah. That's like the canon origin now because they just that that was a beautiful, basically,
Oh man,
cartoon. It still holds up to today too.
it it,
Actually,
it holds up remarkably well. Yeah,
yeah.
it's a great
The
show.
X-Men show does not hold up that well.
Like
The-
the concepts and stuff do, but when you look at the animation, it definitely speaks to its era. Like This was
Do
done early
do you know how
90s.
they did that? They instead of using white as their background, they used black. So everything was painted on black. That makes sense?
For Batman, yes.
Yeah, for Batman. So basically, like it has this very distinct look to it, and art and feel or whatever, because that's what I forgot who did it. That's what they wanted. You know what I mean?
Bruce Timm.
Yeah.
Bruce Timm
So
and his team.
yeah.
You know what too? Just the style, because when you look at the X-Men cartoon show, kind of what you know when they're just like out in the mall and stuff like that,
Hmm.
not in their X-Men uniforms, their attire is very 90s. Like you can
Yeah.
tell like they're wearing fanny packs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But with Batman the animated series, they wanted to go for a much more timeless look. So everything looks like it looks weird because it's like it's very mobsterish, like
Yeah.
around the you know what I mean? Like and then the buildings, like Gotham itself is like a
It
gothic city almost.
yeah, it looks like an old city, basically like an old New York City. You know what I mean?
Right.
That
Exactly.
is very timeless, like New York is. You know what I mean? Some of those buildings are like hundreds of years old. So
Exactly. Exactly. So they have, and it's very odd because they have like people are running around with like Tommy guns and stuff, which is why they were able to get away with using guns in a TV show on Saturday morning.
really,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. If you notice, a lot of those old cartoons like um, Spider-Man and X-Men and stuff like that, all the guns are like laser based. Like it's a laser gun. It's
yeah, a
not
lot of GI Joe and Transformers too. You
right.
know, they were very lasery based, and I don't think I've seen an episode of GI Joe where a hit has been like connected either.
Yeah.
No, that in the 90s
Oh,
nobody could shoot,
right.
basically.
They're like stormtroopers, basically.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That nobody could shoot in the 90s.
But in Batman, they got away with using actual bullets because it was a Tommy gun, and it was like you can't really get a Tommy gun anymore. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
that's true. But I also think like the standards for guns have changed too.
Mhm.
I think having a gun on a regular cartoon show right now, actually, that would be a big no-no, just because of the way
Oh,
America is viewing
stuff
guns
in
right now.
general. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, as a general kind of thing, you know what I mean? So even
Well,
like there's no more gun emoji.
is that for real? There's no more gun emoji?
Well, it used to be like a real gun. Now it's like a green and orange like Nerf gun. I don't know if you noticed
Are you
that.
joking?
Yeah,
I've never noticed.
yeah. Check your phone. Or you can maybe type up the old gun emoji that they took out or whatever. And yeah, that's like one of those things where
What?
like they they you know you could tell the sentiment of basically people's opinions on guns. It was pretty. It's getting kind of negative.
Right, 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 right. Definitely.
Yeah.
Well, I mean that as far as Saturday morning cartoons go, that was always the
Hmm.
case. You know, guns were a no-no.
Yeah. I did
Yeah.
not know that. You know, not that that
Yeah.
would have changed anything, but
It wouldn't have changed anything, but I think it actually adds to the motif of Batman because people are using these really old guns and they're dressing, like mobsters in suits and stuff like that, but they're still modern day technology, or at least modern day at the time. So
yeah,
it's like
you're right. It has like a 1920s feel to it,
yes,
but it isn't the 1920s, you
exactly,
know? Because like the
exactly.
cars are all old-timey too, or at least that's like they look old-timey inspired. Even the Batmobile does, you know?
Yes.
Or
Yep.
like when he's Bruce Wayne, it looks like he's just at a swanky 1920s or roaring 20s party, you know?
Yep. Yep.
So,
Exactly. So it puts it at a weird like the, there's a weird like dichotomy to that where everything looks old, but there's space age technology basically with like
mhm,
the bat computer and stuff like that. So
mhm.
it puts it at a time on its own. It's not like X-Men where this is clearly the 90s.
I never really thought about it that way, but yeah, you're absolutely right. Or it's like when you watch old Power Rangers and you look how they're dressed, I'm like, you
Oh
guys are
my
dressed
God.
awful.
What are you doing,
Yeah.
Zach? Red and Jason, red jeans?
Yeah. Did you know, like I didn't know this and maybe you did, but
Mhm.
basically in I when I basically watched the Power Rangers, I thought it was basically, just its own show. But apparently, as I got older, I watched a long YouTube video basically of someone that just explained the whole drama of basically the Power Rangers and how they basically had to splice in their real life footage and then splice in the
Yes,
Japanese
yes, yes.
footage,
Splicing the
and they basically just made this convoluted storyline
yeah, yeah.
from splicing the scenes together to save a bunch of money.
Oh yes. I mean, when it was new, I had no clue, but I want to say maybe right around when we got the White Ranger was when there were rumors about that. Like this is a Japanese show, and some of my older, like some of my friends who had like older siblings
Mhm,
would have tapes of the original Power Rangers, like the Japanese ones. I,
mhm.
I remember the same friend gave me the Street Fighter the movie VHS in Japanese, dubbed, not dubbed. I'm sorry, subtitled.
So a bootleg.
So yeah, bootleg, yes. And I mean like Dragon Ball and stuff like that, like old Dragon Ball VHSs that was way ahead of where we were in America.
Mhm.
But so yeah, I did know that it was a Japanese show around like the White Ranger arc.
I did not know until I was like,
Yeah, yeah.
I
I
don't
mean a lot.
know,
I mean, how would you know?
substantially older.
It's
Yeah.
just like a TV show. Like, why would you think that? You know what I mean?
All
But
right. All right.
anyway,
So, we geeked out a little bit. We talked about our goals and all this other stuff. So, let's wrap this up, right? So, if you are looking for Fitzroy, right, on social media, how would we find you?
I'm at it's your boy Fitzroy. It's yeah is a Y-A, boy is B-O-Y.
It's your boy Fitzroy.
Yes.
And then if you're
What about
looking for
yourself?
me, I'm on Instagram and Twitter. On Instagram, it's underscore InstaTran, my last name,
I like
and
it.
on Twitter, it's Tran Tweets. So, all right, so that is our first episode, and we will catch up with you guys next time. And Fitzroy, you want to take us out?
Yes, definitely. Thank you guys, and don't get beat up out there.